is about to die.
Well, you should have started with that.
Welcome back, Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4. Well, we finally know why Boba wants to be a crime lord. Because he thinks he'd be good at it. I have a lot of thoughts on this episode that I'm going to cover toward the end of the video, but first, let's break this baby down. First of all, Josh Fisher on Twitter pointed out that the word gathering in the title, The Gathering Storm, is appropriate. In the episode, Boba gathers his ship, his business partner, his armor, his full health, and presumably he gathers some satisfaction for finally destroying the Sarlacc. That's a nice catch. We open on Boba Fett and the galaxy's slowest ever bacta tank as we fade into our final flashback. On the sands of Tatooine, they ride across the remains of a bantha, similar to the bones of the krayt dragon from A New Hope. At least in the old EU, this was a krayt dragon. Now that they look like sandworms, I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. If you do, let me know in the comments. Boba is sneaking around Jabba's palace to get his ship,
Fire spray.
Now I know a lot of fans are upset that Boba's ship was always called
Fire spray.
but fire spray is the model of the ship. Still, the change makes sense. Boba Fett is no longer a villain, so they don't want him to be riding around in a ship named after slaves. Maybe the point is that he no longer sees himself as enslaved to the corrupt clients he used to work for. Although I do think that if they were going to rename the ship, it should have been a big dramatic moment they called out, like Fennec says, "We got to get back to Slave 1," and he says, "No, no one should be a slave. I will call her the Fire Spray," or something like that.
Yes word, yes word.
Sorry, the prisoners with jobs have armed themselves.
Okay, that's better, that's better.
Jabba's palace is guarded by a lot of Weequay, Nikto, and Gamorrean guards, the same species that we saw guarding Jabba in Return of the Jedi. Now you would think, after how that turned out for Jabba, that maybe Bib Fortuna would have added some new blood into the roster, but, you know.
Play that same song!
And guys, check this out. Tatooine has 3 moons. I never knew that, and their orbit is really close together. This episode brings us up to the events of The Mandalorian, meaning that Boba was with the Tuskens for about 4 to 5 years. I'd say that's long enough to go native and give up bounty hunting. The channel Heavy Spoilers pointed out that this flashback and the one from last episode take place during the Gunslinger episode of The Mandalorian. We see the same stormtrooper helmets on spikes, and Peli on her way to meet Din Djarin at the hangar. Great catch. Face. So remember, Din Djarin left Fennec for dead in the desert. And that episode ended with a mysterious person's footsteps. This flash that Boba sees was the flare that Din Djarin used to blind Fennec Shand. Then, just to hit the crossover home, we hear the theme. I thought it was interesting that in The Mandalorian we hear his footsteps. And this was to clue us in that this was Boba Fett, who walked with spurs, so back in 1980 we would know that he was a space cowboy. I'm not even sure what would have caused the spur sound effect because he's not wearing his armor. Maybe an altered clone DNA? I don't know, moving on. He takes Fennec to a mod shop which is being run by the bassist Steven Thundercat Bruner, and according to Bill Scurry on Twitter, this is even one of his bass lines playing as Boba approaches the shop. And Tweeting Zhao on Twitter points out that he has the hand of a super battle droid. Very cool. Outside of the mod shop, we see graffiti from a skeleton like the desert creature in A New Hope. Josh Millman points out that the 3 tools on the arm of the modder robot are the same appendages that Mr. Handy has in the Fallout universe. The saw, the pincer, and the flamethrower. I thought it was cute that the teens with cyber implants are called mods because they're modified. But they also dress like the mods from the 60s, and they ride bikes covered in mirrors, another mod trademark. I do think it's interesting from a real-world cultural perspective that it's cool for teens to get cyber implants. In the 70s and 80s, when the original Star Wars trilogy was made, Vader was seen as evil, partly because he allowed himself to become part machine.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
This was also symbolic of how Vader, from an older generation, allowed himself to become part of the machine of the Empire, of the system, which, whether you realized it or not, kids related to, because every kid sees an adult as out of touch and part of the machine of society that must be overturned. But now, we love our machines. We constantly look at our machines, sometimes while we're looking at other machines. We wear accessories that monitor our heart rate. We speak to Siri and Alexa very calmly as if we're robots, as we program AI to think more like humans. So now, in Star Wars, it's cool for the kids on Tatooine to be part machine. Anyways, I guess it's all part of
just style at the time.
One thing I've always loved about the seedy Star Wars underworld is how everything is for sale at any price. In fact, the only way that Leia could earn Jabba's trust was by being a hard negotiator.
Because he's holding a thermal detonator.
Now, we all love getting a good bargain, but you don't need a thermal detonator when you use Deal Dash, the sponsor of this video. DealDash.com is an honest and fair bidding site which has hundreds of auctions each day. You can win just about any item you can think of. TVs, jewelry, clothes, home furnishings, computers, even cars, and you can get them for up to 90% off. Here's how it works. You find an item you like on the site, and there are hundreds of auctions to choose from daily. And every time you bid, it raises the price by 1 cent. Then the other bidders have 10 seconds to place their competing bids. If no one else bids, you win the auction. Plus, shipping is always free.
Even if you buy a car or a mattress?
Yes, shipping is always free, and there's a 90-day money-back guarantee.
But how come these companies can sell items for so little money?
That's a good question. A lot of your favorite big box retailers throw away perfectly good inventory every day, so Deal Dash partners directly with brands and inventory liquidators to get great savings on brand new products. Then they pass those savings on to the Deal Dash community.
That's awesome!
Right now, you can go to DealDash.com and get 100 bids with your first bid pack purchase. Just enter the code SCREENCRUSH and get bidding today.
But what if I don't win the auction? Doug will be sad.
That's okay. If you don't win, you still have the buy it now option. You get to buy it for the listed price and you get all your bids back, and then you can use them in another auction. So go to DealDash.com, enter the code SCREENCRUSH, and get 100 bids with your first bid pack purchase. Back to the Easter eggs. I laughed out loud when Thundercat said,
Aren't you a little old to be here?
Because that's like what a lot of Star Wars fandom has been saying about Tamura Morrison. Not me though, I think he's awesome and the most frightening 61-year-old I have ever seen. When they operated on Fanic, I love that it was all practical effects, or at least it looks like they're practical effects, and this badass 80s synthesizer perfectly fit this design aesthetic. When they're done, she has a tube of red liquid and a tube of blue liquid. Maybe one is blood that is not yet oxygenated because it lacks any hemoglobin. Boba tells Fennec his backstory, and she says,
Speed bikers defeated Tuskens? That's highly unlikely.
and you know what? Good point. Last week in our Boba Fett talkback video, we theorized that the Pykes actually hired the bikers to kill the Tuskens, which would give Boba Fett even more motive for revenge. Did you guys notice how much better lit Jabba's palace is now? One of Bib Fortuna's first moves as daimyo must have been to replace some light bulbs. It's an emotional moment when Boba says goodbye to his bantha.
It's time. It's time to say farewell, my friend.
In the old expanded universe, Tuskens had a spiritual bond with their banthas and were attached to them for life. This bantha is the only other remaining member of Boba's tribe. Very sad. Boba calls Bib Fortuna,
That bloated pig who double-crossed me.
Now I'm guessing that he means that Bib Fortuna crossed him by keeping his ship, but I don't know how he knows about Bib Fortuna's weight gain unless just like word got out around Tatooine. Now of course, one of the kitchen droids is EV-929 from Return of the Jedi.
I have news for you on the Master's sail barge.
Josh Millman on Twitter points out that he not only assigns staff their positions, but he's also a sous chef. He's working front and back of the house. No wonder he's got such an attitude.
But you'll soon learn some respect.
The droids mention vermin in the palace.
What was that? I don't know. More rats?
And in Return of the Jedi, we saw that the place was lousy with rats. You probably noticed that he forced a live one-eyed frog back into this pot. But did you also notice that later on, it gets away? And of course, the other droid chef swirls his arms around just like General Grievous. This is called a COO cook droid, and it first appeared here in Attack of the Clones. I love that the droids move so awkwardly, like they're either practical effects or like puppets or stop motion. And I really hope that this new LEP Roger Rabbit droid is still around the palace and we get to see him again. These droids have also appeared in Star Wars before, mostly in the Clone Wars. When they rescue a ship, Fennec shoots a gonk droid like the one we saw 8D8 torturing in Jedi. Fun fact, that droid's torture screams were voiced by your mom. After they kill the guard, this one calls them a curse word that we first heard Anakin Skywalker use in The Phantom Menace.
You scrawny doughpot, Slimo.
Makes you think that maybe these two guards were brothers, and this is actually a really sad, emotional moment. On the way out, the ship hits a skiff. And then Boba gets revenge on the Nikto bikers like Bastion riding Falcor. And look, this is an easy detail, but I just love the sounds that speeder bikes make. Then they return to the Sarlacc, where Boba schools Fennec on how strong his armor was.
It's dissolved.
Not Beskar.
Now, it is nice to get confirmation that this is how he survived, but it does make me wonder how that stormtrooper armor lasted so long in Sarlacc's stomach acid. Now, later on, she tells Boba,
"It served its purpose. It saved you from the acid."
but his armor means more to him than just protection. As we saw in his chain code in The Mandalorian,
My chain code has been encoded in this armor for 25 years. See, this is me, Boba Fett. This is my father, Jango Fett.
to the Mandalorians, their armor is a significant family heirloom that has been passed down their line for hundreds of years.
The armor I wear is 500 years old. I reforged it to my liking, but the battles, the history, the blood, all lives within it.
This whole sequence is a lot like Han and Leia flying their ship, the YT-1300, out of the monster's mouth in the asteroid belt. It's like that, but now the cave is a butthole.
I now know it's a butt.
And the coolest moment of the episode is when Fennec dropped the sonic charge from Attack of the Clones. That movie isn't all bad. When Boba asks about the mayor's majordomo, Fennec replies,
"Oh, he's singing like a Yuzum."
and this is the species of the band singer that was added in the special editions. In the present day, Boba strolls into town, again, into the bar being run by Jennifer Beals. And Shaylo Wren on TikTok made a really good point about her eyebrows.
Why do only some of them have eyebrows? Humans in Twilight can breed and make offspring, so like what if the eyebrows are a result of some interspecies mingling?
I also thought her earrings were very interesting because the design matches the Calicori that Hera has in Star Wars Rebels. So a Calicori is an important family heirloom to the Twi'leks, and it's cool to see the same design aesthetic carried over to this show.
A revered Twi'lek heirloom, passed from parent to child through generations, worthless to outsiders, priceless to family.
And we do get confirmation that this is the one and only a Max Rebo,
Hit it, Max.
meaning that somehow he saw what was going down on Jabba's sail barge and got off the skiff early. Now I'm only hoping that this Bith bandmate of his is Figrin Dan from the Modal Nodes. Now there are a few Easter eggs in the bar that I've pointed out in almost every video we've done so far, so if you're a friend of the channel, bear with me. In the bar, we see a Chadra fan like this creature in New Hope or Orca from Star Wars Rebels.
Take whatever you want, seriously. We got some great stuff worth stealing.
It would actually be pretty cool if this turned out to be Orca because he's voiced by Bobby Moynihan. And this creature is called a Hask. We saw one appear in another gold bikini in episode 2, so she probably also works here and is for clients with specialties.
Sometimes imagine in my declining years running a small joint in Manchester, England, catering to specialists exclusive. And to let them know they're amongst their own, maybe I'll operate from the corner, hanging upside down like a fucking bat.
We also see the droid RX-24 dealing cards, and he was a staple of the Star Tours ride and is currently DJing in the Galaxy's Edge theme park. He's dealing to a table of Transdoshans, the gang who occupied the city center of Mos Espa. And the Wookiee bounty hunter Black Krrsantan is getting angry looking at them. Why? Because, as Chris Lackey reminds us on Twitter, Trandoshans have a history of hunting Wookiees, and when he attacks, he rips off one of their arms, just like Han warned us about.
It's not wise to upset a Wookiee. It's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose.
But Trandoshans regrow their limbs, so it's no big deal. William Gerard on Twitter points out that Garsa Fwip calls Black K by the nickname
Santos,
which is what Dr. Aphra called him in the comics. Also, this Twi'lek is wearing a gold bikini, like the one Jabba made Leia wear in her
fire spray
outfit. Maybe Jabba had her wear this because it is a popular look among the prostitutes of Mos Espa. To calm down Black K, she mentions his time in the fighting pits, which we do see in the comics, that he loved gladiator competitions and was great at them. Blue Bantha Milk on Twitter points out that the whole scene, violence followed by a payoff and the band playing again, is taken straight from A New Hope. Afterwards, Boba recruits Black K. And here's the thing, in the comics, these two used to be partners. Krrsantan's first appearance was right alongside Boba Fett, so I wonder if they're actually going to mention this in the show. Then they call together a meeting of the four families, calling back to this iconic scene in The Godfather.
I hope that we could come here and reason together.
And, just like in that scene, they talk about making money from selling drugs.
We make many credits from the sale of spice in our territory.
Because I believe this drug business is going to destroy us in the years to come.
Is you taking notes on a criminal fucking conspiracy? What the fuck is you thinking, man?
The other species here are the Aqualish, like Ponda Baba.
He doesn't like you.
And the Klatooinian, and this one is played by the great Phil Lamar.
What prevents us all from killing you and
taking what we want.
And I loved how Boba got them in line.
Easy.
The message is clear. You can either eat with Boba Fett on top of the Rancor pit, or be eaten at the bottom of it. And Boba's major domo is the droid 8D8 from Return of the Jedi. Who is now voiced by the great Matt Berry. I'm going to mention that in every episode because it just means I get to show more and more Matt Berry clips.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Anyone else think Boba Fett should have killed at least one of these guys to show them that he means business? I mean, maybe his plan is to do this on his own to earn the respect of the others, and then that will bring them into his family. And then the episode ends with an incredible tease. As they're talking about getting muscle, Fennec says,
"Credits can buy muscle, if you know where to look."
And that is the theme to The Mandalorian, meaning that we will see Din Djarin return in the next episode, fighting off Pykes with his darksaber and Beskar spear. Awesome. And Greg Wilderman on Twitter pointed out that in the concept art of the mod shop, we can see a probe droid above the table, and there's also several other Star Wars droids here and there as well. So, all season long, we've been waiting to know why Boba suddenly decided to be a crime lord. And basically, it's because the Tuskens taught him that he needs to be part of a tribe. Or, as Stitch put it,
Ohana means family.
This isn't some big plot reveal where he says he wants to destroy the Pykes for killing his tribe, but I like it. It makes sense that he's bounty hunted for 30 years, he's seen his father die in the trade, and now he wants to call the shots and run things better.
You can only get so far without a tribe.
I mean, sometimes I look around this store and I think the same thing.
What did you say? I zoned out. I was thinking about toys.
I said you're a good boy, here's a treat. Although, if Boba's goal is to form a crime family, I think maybe a better name for the show would have been the House of Fett. So RIP to the flashbacks. I'm really gonna miss them. They've been some of the best Star Wars storytelling under the Disney regime. I guess now we know everything about him after so many years of his story stumping Star Wars historians deep in debate while we played at Bennigan's. Now I'm gonna say that this show did not need to be structured with flashbacks and would have benefited from being in chronological order, because everything that we've seen in the present day now has more weight that we know his backstory, and there was no reason to tell the story out of order and keep putting him back in bacta. The flashbacks create a sense of mystery. They make us wonder, oh, why is he doing this now? Is this going to be revealed? And I really think that every decision that he made as daimyo would have had more weight if we'd already known his entire backstory of living with the Tuskens. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.